What's good people? It's your girl KB. You know what I do and you know what I do it. It is Monday morning, excuse me, January 30th, and it is 3:20 in the AM. I'm in my devotionals and I'm having a time in the Lord. Let me just say that. I've got my morning frog voice happening, and I'm trying to teach a little bit, um, but I'm getting distracted just trying to contain the praise so I don't act a fool on tape. Um, this reading is from, I told you it's becoming one of my fast favorites, Chuck Swindoll. And the devotional is online. It's Insight for Living. And it's Jesus' command, be different. I think, let me just pull up the scripture first. I teach, if you were raised Baptist, you were raised with a soundtrack of hymns for your life, for your daily walk, and in this command to be different, I kind of flashed on a song by the late great LaShawn Pace Rhodes, and nobody can sing it like her. Trust and believe. Lord, I know I've been changed. And just because I thought of that song, I'm going to post it on my YouTube so you folks can enjoy it. The scripture is Matthew 6:8. It says, don't be like them. Who is them? For your Father knows exactly what you need even before you ask Him. Don't be like them. And in the back of my mind, I hear my mother's voice says, so-and-so jumped off a roof. Would you jump off a roof? Don't be like them. And some of us need to hear that message as an adult. It needs to be on a loop. You've heard it in childhood. And, you kind of got your act right together. But as an adult, and use this phrase again, we think we have a right to ourselves. So then those rules that we had as kids don't apply. But like I said, some of us need to hear that as an adult. If so-and-so did such and such, does that mean you have to do it? So let me just get into this reading. It says, when Jesus walked the earth, he attracted a number of people to himself. On one occasion, he sat down among them and taught them some bottom line truths about how he wanted them to grow up. Who's telling you the truth about your growth? Now, if you follow me, and if you've been following me for any length of time, I said most of us surround ourselves with people who benefit from us being sick, or from us not reaching our full potential. They catch the crumbs from the table, or they keep you embedded in the drama so they have something to talk about. Let me get back to this. This is the scriptural account of the Sermon on the Mount is found in Matthew 5, 6, and 7. If you were asked to suggest an overall theme on this grand sermon, it would be different. Time and time again, Jesus stated the way things were among the religious types of their day. And he instructs them to be different. For example, let's go to Matthew 5, 21 and 22. You have heard that our ancestors were told, you must not murder. If you commit murder, you are subject to judgment. But I say, even if you are angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. If you call someone an idiot, it says you are in danger of, and it goes on to explain what you're in danger of. So the thought of revenge, the thought of hurting somebody, is the equivalent of actually doing it. Now, there's some of you who are going to say, well, as long as I'm going to be punished, I'm going to do it anyway. But Jesus is commanding you to change your thought about how you approach situations. Let's go to Matthew 5:27 and 28. You have heard the commandment that says you must not commit adultery. But I say anyone who even looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. And with him in her heart. So the thought, entertaining the thought, is the equivalent of the act. You know, most of us want to think about infidelity, the specific act, because we can't get past the pain and sting of the betrayal. But the act happened long before the physical aspects of that. There's emotional infidelity which led to the physical act. There's that disconnect that led to the physical act. And most people don't consider certain aspects of situations as equivalent to the actual act. That's how we get into trouble. You know, the religious people of the day that they're speaking of had ways to violate the law without seemingly violating the law. You know, it's the same line that the serpent used when he approached. Surely the Lord didn't say. And then you create an exception to the rule. Oh, the rule is still intact, but I've just circumvented it based on my right to myself. I know this is kind of heavy for early in the morning, but it's important to acknowledge the patterns of behavior that keep us stuck. Amen. Go back to my conversation and my video about repeating cycles. And notice that in each line that Jesus is approaching these folks, he's saying, you have heard. But let me break it down. But I say to you, you have heard. So you know. But let me tell you what you're doing. Matthew 5:33 and 34. You have also heard that our ancestors was told, you must not break your vows. You must not carry out the vows you make to the Lord. You must carry out the vows you make to the Lord. But I say, do not make any vows. Do not say by heaven, because heaven is God's throne. So in other words, don't swear to God. I put that on all I know. I put that on all I love. I put that on my mama. We've heard those phrases. Okay, we're not actually saying I put that on God. But we are. Because we're saying we put that on what we love. Matthew 5:38 and 39. You have heard the law that says the punishment must match the injury, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say, do not resist an evil person. If someone slaps you on the right cheek, offer the other cheek also. Now, you slap me, we're going to have some conversation. If you slap me, you're most likely going to catch some hands. Retraining your mind, retraining your thoughts, truly understanding forgiveness. Man, that is hard. That is so hard. Humility is, I don't want to say not for the faint of heart. I struggle with it. And I know many others struggle with it. You know, many of us want to stand firm and righteous. And here's my made-up word, in our wrongiosity. And I use wrongiosity because we've enmeshed our wrong in our piety, in our religion, in our pride. And we're going to stand firm and fast on it without ever acknowledging that we've twisted the word. You know, many of us want to hoop and holler about how we've been wronged and say, I forgive, but I don't forget. You haven't forgiven if you haven't forgotten. God so loved the world. I mean, it goes back to the basic premise, the foundation of this thing that we call our religion, our salvation. He gave his only begotten Son as payment for our sin. You know, so forgiving and not forgetting is a perpetuation of the sin, because our hearts haven't been changed. Our hearts are still hardened. We need to be mindful of that, y'all. So, who's the them when Jesus says don't be like them? The them is us. The them is how we approach our spiritual walk. Some of us are so pious that we're no earthly good. Some of us are so pious that we've lost our perspective, but they're by the grace of God. You know, some of us are so pious that we forget all have sinned and fallen short of the glory. And we want to hold on to our twisted version of that I did nothing wrong. Don't be like them. Be different.